So let's get into this young chap. I actually don't understand this weird rolled out white toilet paper he's on. Is that a troll? I feel like if I were to do like some sort of production where I brought in evolution proponents, I feel like it's something I would do. I'd be like, go ahead and sit on this oversized toilet paper roll. Go ahead, sit right over there. I want to interview you. How do we submit our favorite moments to OrthoThugs? You can tag the time codes, Magdalene, thank you for the $5, in the comments. That'll be good enough, favorite moments. Just time code them. That might require you to find them. I know that's a lot of work, but you could also just write it, and if I remember where it is, I can help find it for you, okay? So anyway. I don't see a problem enforcing Christian morality. Maybe more would see the light. Yeah, I feel like we already do. I mean, it's such an easy counter. You go, someone goes, "Oh, I'm Christian. I just don't want to enforce my ethics on people. That's wrong." You go, "Do you think abortion should be illegal?" And they're like, "Yeah, of course." And they just look at you like a blank stare, and you get those cartoon blinking sounds like. Y'all ride too hard on me. It's not Christ-like. No, Christ was pretty brutal, Marilyn. Christ was fairly brutal, calling out the vipers, And what does it matter to your worldview, Marilyn? You're God. I mean, how could anything be too difficult for God? And that's a weird thing to say as a God. Imagine God being like, "You're being too rough on me." No, we're treating you like what you're saying is true. So why are you acting so ungodly, Marilyn? You should be stronger like God. Come on, Marilyn. You got bad theology, okay? It's simple. It's illogical. It's broken. It's contradictory. It's self-refuting. All of the above. We don't have to tell you. All right. Let's get into this guy. And obviously we should trust him. He has a sweater with his collar protruding. I'm going to start dressing like that.
Is, for me, probably the most beautiful idea in biology.
Don't get all poetic. There's no beauty.
If
natural selection is true, there's no beauty.
Selection.
There's two things we have to think about here. One is evolution itself. Do animals and plants evolve? And the second is, what is the mechanism by which it takes place? The idea that
I have a feeling that we're not going to get to the mechanism, but let's see.
Animals and plants might evolve is actually quite old. Even Aristotle had some thoughts about it.
Yeah, and so did the Hindus. I like stickers. Nice.
But
Thanks,
particularly in the 18th century, there were a number of people who speculated, looking at fossils and so on, that animals and plants had evolved over time. But it took Charles Darwin.
Oh, I like stickers. I like stickers too, Craig. I have stickers. You can find stickers on my website. MadeByJimbob.com. You can find some funny stickers over there, Craig.
In the middle of the 19th century.
He loves mushy peas on toast.
Come up with a mechanism, evolution by natural selection.
Look at that face. By the way, you don't come up with a mechanism. He just outed himself. He just self-reported. We got to think up a mechanism. No, if evolution had a mechanism, you wouldn't come up with it. Think about the language. You don't come up with it. You discover it. If there's a mechanism, you actually discover it through the scientific process by introducing it, isolating it, testing it. You don't come up with it. What are you, a wizard? What is this, sword in the stone? What are you, polyamorous? Shout out to Hello Listener.
And he came to this position because of a 5-year voyage he took in a small Royal Naval boat called the Beagle that went round the world, and he collected animals and plants and birds and studied the geology, made lots of natural history observations, And this eventually led in the 1840s to his idea. He didn't publish it till 1865. And it provided a mechanism by which animals and plants could evolve, and really you could get design without having a designer.
Oh, what a convenient conclusion.
Well, it's basically a way for you to reject God and purpose and still get it from accidentalism. It's beautiful. If you're looking to reject God and you want to still appeal to some sort of purpose and meaning and design in the world, you simply reject God and appeal to natural selection. It's a great way to get beauty.
Now, how is that possible? It's a very clever idea.
It's clever, yeah, it's clever, all right.
And it's based on the genes that I've already talked about in cells, really.
No, it actually wasn't. The term came up before genetics were known. So what are you talking about? It wasn't based on genes there, Bilbo. It wasn't based on genes, Bilbo. You didn't know anything about genetics, Bilbo. So that's a lie, Bilbo.
And what he speculated was that all living things have hereditary material. He didn't know about genes, but he speculated that they had hereditary material. That if this hereditary material had some differences that resulted in the living organism being different, then it is possible that what was produced was perhaps a plant or an animal that could grow faster or produce more
This is so stupid. You know why? Because ultimately they're materialists. And I never thought about this until now. He said that. Let's just hear what he said, and I'll tell you what I just thought for the first time I've thought this. It just never occurred to me. Listen.
Produced more offspring, and or produced more offspring, was perhaps a plant or an animal that could grow faster or produced more offspring. And that would mean that in the next generation, there would be more of that particular variant. And if it was advantageous in the environment,
Here, hold on. Sorry.
Differences that result in material.
Listen to this.
Things have hereditary.
Listen.
Was that all living things have hereditary material. He didn't.
All living things have hereditary material. Okay, just listen to that statement.
Know about genes, but he speculated that they had hereditary material. That if this hereditary material had some differences that resulted in the living organism being different.
The living organism being different. I'm sorry, buddy, but the living organism itself is hereditary material. And this is where they fantasize about these distinctions that they think they have with no difference. Think about this. He goes from there's an organism that has hereditary material that produces another thing that itself is different. Well, no. From your view, you're arbitrarily delineating between hereditary material and the thing itself, which is also hereditary material. I never thought about this. That the thing itself is itself hereditary material. And he's saying, well, look at it, it's different. It must have hereditary material that's different. Well, if the thing itself is the hereditary material, you're not saying anything. You're just saying things are different. That's all you're saying. You're saying the things are different because the things are different. That's it. That's all you're saying.
Then it is possible that what...
Federico Condata, that name makes me hungry. Good day, sir. Speaking of beauty, I was wondering if you could give a brief summary of aesthetics from a philosophical perspective. Well, in short, aesthetics, if beauty exists at all, if it's not fiction, like morality, it would be grounded in the mind of God, in short. That aesthetics, symmetry, beauty, fluidity, unity, and multiplicity. If you think about art from a balanced perspective, you're talking about a multiplicity of particular things in an image, let's say a frame. And what makes it beautiful, if there's a standard anyway, it can't, if it's just, I think it's beautiful, the term beauty it doesn't have a meaning. It just says, I like that. You could say that about like, go 17 floors down in the Getty and watch, 17 children sacrificed on an altar and call it beautiful. But in regards to imagery, we're talking about the unity and multiplicity. That's what I think is reflective of God's very nature, which only could be grounded in a triune Godhead, by the way, unity and multiplicity. So I think beauty and aesthetics are a feature or reflective of unity and multiplicity. Because think about it, like the elements that are used, there's multiple, but they unify in some way. It's not just symmetry, by the way. People think, well, if it's symmetrical, then it's beautiful. Well, that's generally the expression, but it's not. It doesn't stop there. It's aesthetics has to do with multiple things, mediums, objects in space, participating in relation to each other and creating a unity in their multiplicity. That's there's not a lot of time for it, Federico. I hope that's enough for you to run with.
Was produced was perhaps a plant or an animal that could grow faster or produce more offspring. And that would mean that in the next generation, there would be more of that particular variant. And if it was advantageous in the environment in which it found itself, then that it would eventually take over the whole population. So you get a change from one type of organism into one that was a bit different.
Right. That's the narrative. It's
I sometimes think of a very simple model just to explain that. Imagine a single-celled organism which had a red coat outside the cell or a yellow coat. Let's say that the red coat got eaten by some other living organism. Then if there was a mutation which resulted in the red coat turning into a yellow coat.
This is how stupid it is. By the way, if there was a mutation that the red coat stayed the same, but the mutation was that when you were eaten, you took over the body and took over the brain like some sort of weird, bacterial brain takeover that happens with insects, it wouldn't matter. Like, so he's just like assuming, okay, there's just one instance where this change happened. It's totally accidental. And there just happened to be an animal, by the way, that liked the look of the red coat. Well, you notice how every time, and this is going to come up every single time I debate an Evo proponent, every time they talk about evolution, they grant themselves a whole ecological environment where there's prey. I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry, Bilbo, but you're going to have to explain to me how it is that the predator, who's really partial to the color red, developed accidentally through random mutation a want and a desire or an impulse to eat red things. He just grants himself this, just like Mark Reed did. Well, there's a little thing that develops a red coat. How? It just does. But there's another predator outside that I also granted myself that was produced through random mutation that likes red. That needs to be produced too. You're just saying that it's produced every time. Every single time. They just grant themselves an animal that exists out that's like hunting for red things. Accidentally.
Then the yellow-coated cells would survive better than the red-coated ones, and as a consequence, they would take over the population. And that's just a very simple example of evolution by natural selection.
Unbelievable.
But it's also built on the ideas that I've been talking about. It's built on the idea of genes and the fact that genes determine the properties of cells. And if you have genes determining the properties of cells and the genes show some variability, then you will simply get evolution by natural selection.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. This is why it's false. He's skipping the phase where a random mutation, first of all, is documented to have produced any advantageous trait at all, first of all. Second of all, he's just saying variance is produced by it. Well, no. Show me any... That's the thing in question, Bilbo. All we see is you guys manipulating organisms via introducing chemicals or something like that. And what you're doing is showing some sort of degradation of the cell or some inability to do something. That's all.
Oi way, Jimmy. Daily Wire sent me on a some expenses paid trip to Tel Aviv. I'm having a great time, but oi, I got bit by a little spider with a little six-pointed star. My nose grew 3 sizes and I can't stop eating gefilte fish.
Vagine, anti-Semitism. Vagine.
And this was the idea Darwin had. He didn't know about genes, but he did know about hereditary material. And this has been a revolutionary change in our understanding in biology, because what it leads to is a better designed living thing without having a designer.
No, you don't. You didn't tell me the mechanism, Bilbo, where a random mutation, which is ultimately high probability, inductively, a replication of the same genetic material, or information, by the way. So, no, you don't just say, well, if something changes, therefore it can produce some effect that's advantageous. That's the thing in question. He just tells the story that it does. Well, if there's genetic alteration that does produce something like a fang, or, I don't know, like a rattlesnake just develops accidentally a pouch before it develops the poison or the venom? Why would it develop a pouch? Well, it's just accidental. Well, then what's the advantage to a pouch without the venom, bro? Well, maybe it developed the venom for... Oh, it just had venom in its face. Does that make sense to you, Bilbo? Does that make sense to you? The snake developed venom in its face, and then it was like, I need some pouches for this. Colin Rock, good point. He uses the word design without a designer. It doesn't make any sense. That's how you get design without a designer, no? Yeah, accidental design. Does that make sense to you? Is that logical to you? That the only time you have to special plead for something called design that comes from not a mind or not a designer happens to be nature? That's the only example that he would argue is a design. That's, it's just begging the question.
It can occur just randomly by selecting naturally for those
selecting. There's no selection.
Changes that are more advantageous for that living thing. It really truly is a beautiful idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's an idea, at least. At least you admit it's an idea.
One of the consequences of evolution is that we're related by descent. Because if we all can trace back our ancestors to a common place.
A place? Excuse me? That was a weird misstep. I didn't know our common ancestry is a location. I thought it had to be an organism. You see how sneaky these people are with words? A place. What's that place, bro? Where's the location? That's like saying, how were you born? And instead of saying my parents had sex, you said, I came from a bed. I traced back your existence to a small location in New York. That there was a bed. That's the old beginning is the bed. The old beginning is a bed.
Then every living thing on this planet.
Why are there 430 watchers but only 180 likes? Because I have that many haters. That's why.
Planet is related. And this is rather profound, really. The relatedness of all living things, and particularly of humans to other life forms, was brought home to me in a very special way, almost spiritual.
Don't say that. Don't do this. Don't do this to yourself, Bilbo. I can occur randomly by selecting. Wait, what? Yeah.
I was trekking through a Uganda rainforest, looking...
You weren't tracking. You were visiting one of those weird tribes with the young boys.
...for gorillas. And we
You were not.
came across a whole family of them.
Total lie.
20, 25 of them. I sat down behind a tree. I was a little bit separate from the rest of my group. And then this very large male gorilla sat down in front of me and looked at me, deep brown eyes. He put out his arm, he bent down a sapling tree, 2, 3, 4 inches in diameter. I'm sure he was telling me, I can do this, I'm not sure you can do this. But sitting there, just looking at him, seeing the similarity.
I fell in love. His name was George.
His deep brown eyes, and they were really staring at me. It just looked like we were having a conversation somehow.
Wow, this is it? This is it? This is what you got? People do, you can actually do that at home and have the same experience with a dog.
He sat and looked at me for a while, then he climbed up the tree, and then he peed all over me.
And then I knew that it was love, because all of my other relationships went the same way up until this point. And I sat there in the glory of that yellow shower in Uganda, and I thought, I come from this. I come from this. He peed all over me.
I wasn't expecting that.
He gave me a glorious ancestral shower. And I began to think, you are my uncle. You're just like my uncle.
What is going on? These are the people running your academics.
So I don't really know whether he was trying to put me in my place, but for sure, it was a magnificent interaction.
A magnificent interaction?
You got pissed on by a gorilla?
And now you believe in evolution? Because you got peed on by a gorilla, bro.
And that, it was a spirit.
He called that a spiritual experience leading up to it. It was quite a spiritual situation.
The only other time that happened was at a party in San Francisco when I was visiting.
Here I was, almost talking to a sort of relative, diverged 5 million years ago, 10 million years ago.
Doesn't matter, just make it up.
And it made me think of the deep connection between all life on this planet.
The deep connection, let me get this straight, buddy. The deep connection between all life on this planet is you getting subbed by a gorilla that pissed on your head. And now you believe in evolution. It's honestly the best argument I've ever heard for evolution, yeah.
And there I was. Now I believe.
It's just that we diverged further and further back. And that experiment that I described of taking the human gene and putting it into a yeast cell and showing that that human gene could control the reproduction of the yeast cell just as well as it could control a human cell, even though they diverged 1,500 million years ago, is another example of the extraordinary similarity between living things.
No, actually, the similarity between living things would be that we're composed of similar matter, but you'd have to say there's similarity between living things and non-living things too, and so you wouldn't say they're related. So they just arbitrarily go, these things are alike, those things aren't. We're related because of the things that are alike, even though there are other ways of saying we're alike other pieces of matter like rocks, but we're not related to that. The great ape golden shower is what made me realize evolution is true. What a wild story. I didn't even know that was coming, by the way. I just sent myself this based on the title yesterday, and I was like, what? Paul got peed on. This guy, Paul Nurse. Only an academic could say something like that and think it's profound. Absolutely.
And I think about this quite a lot because doesn't it mean if we're related to every living thing on the planet, do we not have a special responsibility for every living thing on this planet?
No, because other things are related to us and they don't have any responsibility, dummy. I mean, this is a guy, this is what we're dealing with. This is the opposition for us. So because we're made of the same composition and things are similar, doesn't that mean I have a responsibility? No, that's called an is-ought fallacy. That's called a naturalistic fallacy.
They are really all our relatives. Do we not really have a responsibility to be a steward for
How convenient. He borrows from the Christian worldview, a steward.
all
It's all about rejecting God every single time. Do we not have a responsibility to mimic and pervert Christianity and try to keep it as our own without any basis? No, we don't have any. No, in fact, if we're related to everything else, silly, then there's no responsibility. It's the total opposite. If we're related to everything else, then I could piss on another person. It's just doing guerrilla stuff, bro. I just piss on someone outside. Hello? If we're all just like everything else, then the guy who put his knee on George Floyd, them just two gorillas, man. Unbelievable. Is that the baptism in the Church of Evolution? Apparently. Jason Cassell, $10. So this guy told the world what his kinks are and is hoping that it will reach like-minded people. Oh, by the way, if there are any women or men interested, you could DM me. Cheerio. Yeah. That's his spiritual moment, dude. That's crazy. Hanging on with Jimbob's Monday Hangout. Hugs. Thank you, Miguel. Member for 35 months. Wow. Even though that's not a super chat, it does deserve this.
Holy cow! That is a big super chat!
Big up for the chat. JB, of course, having a good laugh over here. Yeah, this should be presenting a bunch of giggles for sure.
animals, plants, fungi. We have a responsibility for them.
Why?
And it's the best argument
Because we're simple. We're like them.
I've seen in an abstract sort of way.
The best argument you've seen in an abstract sort of way for deontology about the world is that we're like the world. It's your best argument, Bilbo, is a fallacy. Your best argument is a fallacy?
That we should take care
Unbelievable. Hello, listener, you just missed something extraordinary.
of every living thing that we can on this planet.
All right, we're going to take care of cancer, okay? All right, buddy. Let's do it. Let's take care. We got to preserve all of the living things that come after us. Okay, buddy.
Because we're related to every.
We should take care of all of the living things because we're related to them. Okay. Wow. The level of delusion is insane. This guy lived, what, 68, 65 years? Okay, cool. So are you going to... Tell me when you're going to intervene when the lion eats the gazelle, buddy. Let me know when. Love to see you get in the way of the same gorilla that pissed on you, by the way. I want to see you get in the way when it starts, annihilating someone in its troop. Is that what it's called? The troop? Yeah, I'd love to see this guy get in the way of that.
Well, no, shouldn't we stop fighting? Stop fighting. We're all the same. We're all the same.
Okay, we're related to a tree. Why are we cutting down trees? We're related to a banana. Why did you eat a banana? We're related to fish. What's happening? What are you doing? What's happening? I want to debate this guy. Actually, I want to fight him. He might have old man strength, but I'm willing to give it a shot. He might have that brute old man strength. He might pee on me.
Every living thing on the planet. They are our relatives.
Want to support the channel?
Does it get any pushback? And then he peed all over me. Yeah, for sure. That was my first top comment. Great. Evolution should be required learning in the school. Duh. That's it. So brilliantly explained. It's just the world today. I hate the world. I honestly do. I hate it. Hate it. It's terrible. So there you go. That's your best. These are your best proponents out there. Anyone in the chat still an Evo proponent at this point? Let me know how.